Continuing our summary of the preface of Maps of Meaning, I want to talk about something that stood out to me in particular in the preface, and something that I do not think I will soon forget. It came when he was visiting a prison on the outskirts of Edmonton. He was visiting the prison under the supervision of an adjunct professor. And as he was visiting there, the psychologist who was accompanying him left him alone, and he was sort of met with these types of people that he'd never really been around before. And his experience there was really fascinating because of one particular prisoner he met and that man's impact on him. I believe Jordan Peterson has mentioned this briefly in an interview, so it was really interesting to see this in his book and really summarized in what actually happened here. So as he was left alone by this man who was supposed to be accompanying him, he was surrounded by these tattooed, muscular guys. He had no idea what to really do with them, and it was a very intimidating situation when all of a sudden a really small, like average-looking guy came up to him and started talking like really normally and rationally, and he offered to take Jordan back to the other professor and sort of guide him. He decided to take this guy at his word and decided to follow him and walk away from where his supervisor had left him. And all the while, he's watching the doors get further and further away. But, you know, this guy, he's just a small guy. He's bearded. He's really unassuming. And he's just talking about something completely innocuous. It doesn't even really reflect on Peterson what he's even talking about, but he just seems like a normal guy. He takes him at his word. And the supervisor sees him, beckons him over. This other man leaves, and it turns out that really unassuming man was a prisoner himself. He may have looked really harmless, but he was in fact a man who had murdered 2 policemen after he forced them to dig their own graves. I mean, it was an atrocious crime. He talks about it a bit more here, but I will not. And it just shocked him. It shocked him that someone so unassuming and normal seeming could do that kind of act, such an atrocious thing. And he got to really thinking about this. It just really struck him how contrasted that experience was, and he would never have guessed in a million years that man would have been able to do something like what he did. I think this really settled in his mind in a strange way, because as he went back to school and in lectures, he started to have, I'm not sure what they call it. I didn't do any psychology classes, but when you kind of have like an impulse to do something violent, and of course we don't act on these, but he started to have these impulses of feeling the urge to stab the point of my pen into the neck of the person in front of me. And it was not overwhelming, he says, luckily, but it was powerful enough to disturb him. He asked himself what sort of terrible person would have had an impulse like that, and he thought, certainly not me. I mean, I'm just a guy. I've never been violent. I was always like the more intellectual type, and I've always been smaller and younger than my classmates. And he's talking about how strange these feelings, these urges are. And he once again visits the prison, and during his time away, 2 more prisoners had attacked a third, and they had pulverized one of his legs with a lead pipe. This is like almost unbelievable to me. And he was taken aback once again, just completely shocked by this, because these are men he had like talked to, and they're just men, you know? How could they do such horrible, atrocious acts? But this time he asked himself a different question. Instead of just being shocked by it, he asked himself, what would I have to be like to do such a thing? And he tried to really imagine that, and he thought about it really, really deeply. And he realized something that I think is phenomenal and disturbing and eerily true about the nature of humans. He says here, and I'm going to quote it, "I concentrated on this task for days and days and experienced a frightening revelation. The truly appalling aspect of such atrocity did not lie in its impossibility or remoteness, as I had naively assumed, but in its ease." There's something I want to talk to you about called a book that I want to read soon that Jordan Peterson recommends called Ordinary Men. And it is essentially how ordinary men become horrible. It's talking about and I think this is something really important to remember for all of us, is that we are imperfect. And it is not that it's impossible for us to do bad things, it's that it's easy. And that's a really freaky thought. One that is, it's just true. It's just true. Think about it really deeply for a while and see what conclusion you come to. I'd love to know. He says, "I was not much different from the violent prisoners, not qualitatively different. I could do what they could do, although I hadn't." And this upset him immensely. He said, "I was not who I thought I was." I'm just going to say it one more time because it fascinates me so much. Just think about it for a minute, okay? Think about it. The appalling aspect of atrocity does not lie in its impossibility or remoteness, but in its ease. That's heavy. That's heavy. Hi, thanks for watching part of my ongoing series as I continue to read Jordan Peterson's textbook, Maps of Meaning. If you want more content like this, be sure to check out the full playlist linked below. If you enjoyed the video, I hope you'll leave a like and a comment below. And if you're new here and you haven't subscribed yet, then go ahead, press that subscribe button, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.